Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Gabby Reece Show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, it's just me, one of the solo episodes, and it's kind of perfect timing. The world it's probably always been in chaos, and I think we live in this time where we're hearing everything all the time. And that's what I'm really coming to realize. It's like, the right, the left, wars, inflation, debt, education, even when it comes to supplementation, you should always take this. You should never take that. I mean, it goes on and on. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or I don't know, just it's the only word I can think of. I think you're not alone. And maybe one of the new homeworks, and this is something I've been practicing, is a bit of detachment. I think we're all so engaged all the time. And I think a little bit of detachment from the noise, not from yourself, not from your family. I think if you can lean into that and get as entangled as you possibly can in a productive way with your internal relationship and the real people in your life, the better. And I think with the other stuff, if we could get some detachment, some space. I mean, what are they talking? Even Viktor Frankl talking about, the distance between stimulus and response. I think that's true. So if you want to say a new discipline that I've been doing is just monitoring, like, hey, how much stuff am I letting come at me all the time? Because it's too much. It just is. We're not meant for this much information. It isn't. And if you are taking it in, curate it, select it. Is it going to educate you? Is it going to inspire you? Is it going to make you laugh? If it's going to make you scared or frustrated or angry, maybe figure that out. Why? Because we've got to pace ourselves. We all need to be around and be strong and be clear-minded and participate from that perspective. Not from outrage. It's too much. It really is. So this happened yesterday, and also I'll share it right off the top. I was joking that I got this opportunity to do this interview with somebody that, for different reasons, is important to me, Karch Karai. And when I say that, it's because volleyball has played a really important part in my life. And Karch is just a stellar example of not only what greatness is and the best, but also how he's always conducted himself, from winning 2 gold medals indoor to the first gold medal on the beach to bringing the U.S. women's indoor national team to a gold medal. And now he's going to be coaching the men's team. So you're talking about a high level person. So I went down, I had left my house at 6 a.m., drove to Anaheim. The interview was 8. I got there a few minutes early, so there was no rush there. First thing I noticed, we were sitting side by side. It's very hard to interview somebody side by side. And I'll even joke and tell you something truthfully, is like, as you get older, right? This whole part of your face, you start to protect from that point of view. All right. That was number one. I didn't say anything. I should have said, hey, let's get rid of this table and let's have the chairs. We can figure out the microphones. Let's be across from each other. So I could look at Karch. And so, because Karch is not the most emotional person. So here I am. I've been feeling super relaxed in all my interviews. I go down to see Karch, and there were so many things to talk about, right? Like him as an athlete, him with this very powerful figure in his life of his father influencing him becoming a champion so young, identity, dealing with injury, transitioning. He's been married to his wife, Jennifer, like 38 years, relationships, being a parent to 2 sons. Do you push him into sports? Don't you? How did you deal with injury? Coaching men, coaching women. Like I had all this stuff and I just felt like I landed nowhere. It was really interesting. It kind of bothered me the whole day. When you feel like you had this moment and you didn't really squeeze it all away and just kind of do it the right and best way. And so I guess why I'm sharing it with you is it happens. I've done television interviews since 1992. I had a podcast with Neil Strauss for a couple of years. I've had this podcast for 4 years on my own. I've done a decent amount of interviews, and I might have blown it. And when I say that's okay, it's not okay, but it just wasn't the way I wanted it. My friend Becky said, sometimes these kind of things just help us either not get complacent or refocus us or whatever the reasons are. And so if you've had something like this happen, maybe it's a meeting, you wait. My favorite is like you wait a couple months for a big business meeting and you go in there and like the energy wasn't good or your energy wasn't good or you weren't clear. And so I guess my point is I'm not a person who beats themselves up. It will stay with me for a day or two. I'm deciding, I'm letting other people listen to the show. Is there value to you guys to listen to it? If there is, I'll air it. And then it was also like hearing what Karch thought, because of course I couldn't help but want it to be a good experience for Karch. And it was long. I took 2 hours and I still felt like I landed nowhere. So I'm just sharing that with you because it happens. It just does. It's a part of it. If it stops happening, I'm probably dead. So don't be afraid. We're not going to die in that moment. Just uncomfortable. On an upside, my training, I've been feeling really good. And I couple it to, I sort of attribute a couple things to it. I think I'm in the right mindset right now. I feel really clear, and I don't want to say unflappable because I'm not. It just feels like I'm not wrestling with that. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. No, I'm tired. No, this is hard. It's like I don't have a lot of that going on right now. So I'm just putting my foot on the gas. My body feels good, and I'm training as hard as I can. And that's how it is. These things are seasonal. And even though it's colder and it's winter months, this might be a time right now that I can really get after it. And so I am. I don't always feel that way. Sometimes I'm keeping it going, but I don't feel my best. And so right now I'm feeling really good. It's like my food's kind of dialed up. My sleep hasn't been great. Laird just had his other hip replaced. So I don't know if you've ever, experienced this when you have a partner who isn't sleeping. Well, you're probably not sleeping either. And I don't say anything to him because he's like, I haven't really slept in 3 weeks. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're not the only one. He's like, flipping and flopping all across the bed and sighing. And I joke with a friend of mine, we call it man noises, like, So we have that going on. And Laird doesn't take pain medication. So he stays awake for his surgery. He does not take pain medication. Don't think now after 3 weeks, I haven't been like, on a little pain medication. But I really honor him. He wants to know how his body feels and what he can genuinely do and not do. And so, he's muscling through it. So I think these are the moments that I back even further up, right? Rather than leaning into, of course, Laird's uncomfortable and he's not, and he's like stuck, right? He's kind of stuck at home and he's not able to do the things that he really wants to do. I just keep a lot of space and just keep sending love. And it's almost like I don't take it serious, meaning this too shall pass. Just keep, supporting them. Because I can't be like, this isn't fun to him. And he's like, yeah, thanks a lot. I just had my femur bone sawed off. So if you're with somebody or you're the someone who's going through something, it's really about loving them and loving them through it. You can't fix it for them and you don't have to walk around on eggshells, but you can be like, oh yeah, that must be uncomfortable. And it has been fun. So I'll finish this thing with Karch. So we do the interview, then I go to Food Expo. If you've ever gone to an expo kind of thing, it's like, thousands of people selling stuff. And Laird Superfood had a booth there. I went, Laird didn't go for obvious reasons. And it was great. You meet so many incredible people or see people that you adore. I saw Mark Sisson, who I adore so much, who created, you've seen him on my podcast and his own and other people's for many, many years, Primal Kitchen and Primal Blueprint. He has a beautiful brand called Paluva, a footwear brand with your toes are liberated. Anyway, it was great. So, but it was a long day. I came home around 8:30, 8 o'clock from the 6 a.m. departure. I still had the wiggle in the back of my mind about like, oh, the thing with Karch. And then I drove into my gate and there were 3 bottles of colostrum that I had ordered for my daughter. And I ran over all 3 of them. It was kind of awesome. Like it just exploded in this big puff of like white colostrum. And so I got pissed and I was pissed at myself for, it felt careless, even though it got delivered right on the other side of the gate. I couldn't really see it. It was in a place where the car kind of hangs over. Ultimately, the way I'm really going to be pissed is when I do something careless. If someone in my life does it, I don't react as much. So it was just that moment where even when you're in it, it's like the sense of humor of like, it's pretty cool. Like in the middle of the driveway it just looked like a big wad of, it just looked like a lot of cocaine just sitting there, like a big pile. And Blair was trying to get me not to clean it up. And anyway, I guess what I'm saying is he thought I was reacting to running it over and I was reacting to feeling like I wasn't paying attention. And that just reminds me that that's usually what's going on in life. We're all reading situations and thinking, oh, this person's reacting to this, but they're actually, to X, but they're really reacting to Y. And so I really appreciated that reminder so that I can continue to do that, not only in my own life. And so I can be clear with myself, like, well, what are you really responding to? But then being better at trying to see what are people really responding to, because they're usually not responding to the thing that's right. That seems like the obvious thing. They're just using that as an outlet to release the other stuff. So again, just a great reminder. And they ebb and flow. Just everything is ebbing and flowing. Our health, our energy levels, our relationships, our work, finances, it's just all ebbing and flowing. And I'm trying to be graceful on those journeys. and if all else fails, I just lean on trying to be stoic, because then at least it doesn't get me in too much trouble. And it's been interesting. This year, Laird and I will be married 28 years. We will be together 30. And it's so interesting to be in a relationship that, and our kids are big. Like they're almost out. Our youngest is almost out of the house. And that's why you have to keep yourself and the romance of the relationship in whichever definition that is for you. I'm not talking about romance in one definition. For people, it could be taking a walk together, holding hands. Okay, it's sex. We enjoy bird watching, whatever. It's like your thing, meals, travel, whatever. But I am just constantly reminded why it's so important as an individual human to have things that excite me and turn me on and that I can put my teeth into. And that was something that I figured out yesterday when I was talking to Karch. He is a high level coach, world class. So really, why is he okay transitioning? This guy played volleyball till 46 years old at a high level. It was like, no, it's not just about the sport, even though of course it's fun and he's good at it. It's about having something in your life that challenges you, that you can bite into, that you can try to be better at, that you can learn, that you can contribute, that like you have good days and bad days and there's room to improve. That's everything. Same old, same old. I don't care if you're 60 years old. It's a no-go. It's like, but yet somehow we're afraid to try new things or things that we're not good at. So I always find that so interesting. It's like the thing we need the most is to keep growing and to keep changing. But the thing that we're so reluctant is change. And there's a great conversation I have with Sarah Grinsberg about this. So if you missed that show, she sort of really talks about being at a job and being like, hey, I know it's time for me to move on. And it ended up inevitably getting decided for her, but she's in a much better place for herself and who she is in this moment today because she took that risk. And I think the more you do it, the easier it gets. And not everything has to be for money. I'm not talking about that. I think certainly as you get older, even just being willing to be a mentor or to show up for people, like Arthur C. Brooks' book, Strength to Strength. It's like, it doesn't mean you have to create a whole new thing and raise capital and be a CEO. And no, it's like you might just be able to take all this life's experience and synthesize it for somebody and mentor people and contribute that way. So I guess I'm just putting out a friendly, kind of smoke signal into the digital ether to remind, us all that we have stuff to give. And when we're most lit up and excited is when we're getting to express those things, or we're learning something new, or we're uncomfortable just a little bit. And that's what I'm trying to do more of. And certainly now that my youngest is going, I mean, you guys know this, if you have teenagers, kind of by the time they're 15, it's not that they're over you, but they're sort of like, yeah, I'll come in for clean clothes and food. So you have a couple years before they sort of move on. But I'm certainly slowly been putting my foot deeper on the gas and working more. And it's satisfying. But then you also have to redefine the dynamics in the relationship. So if you're doing that in a relationship, your partner might have been accustomed to you kind of being there, because I've been here for my family and I'm always going to be here for my family, but it might start to look a little different. And this dance is so fascinating. And I feel supported by Laird, but it is something different. And so if you're going through anything like that, I don't think it's unique or different in any home. It's completely probably to be expected. It's like, well, wait a minute. We've been doing this for 20, 25 years. It's like, yeah. And now we're going to do something different. And I'm going to do something different. So I'm heading back to that. I had a really powerful reminder. I was in I have a hyperbaric chamber, like a big one. And I was with my friend John too. And John too is, he works in the beauty business. He's always like, come and see me. I know what he's getting at. But he said something that I needed to be reminded of. And he was like, we spend so much time focusing on our bodies. I do. I train. I think about my food. I talk about it on the show. And I try not to obsess, right? I mean, I'm not even wearing makeup on my skin right now because it's like, fuck it. Like, this is who I am. Like, it's what it is. But I said earlier, like Karch, like from the side, I'm like, whoa. But he said, we're spirits. And that goes, not only does that go on, but there's sort of a timelessness or an infiniteness to that. And I felt like I really needed to hear that, because even sometimes, like with injuries or things that are nagging you or sleep deprived, it's so much about the body and judging the body, especially females. It's like we're judging it all day long, every day, for weeks, months, and years. I mean, we are professional at this. And just once in a while, if we can be reminded that we're spirits, it's our spirit. And there's something so liberating in that. So I started thinking about it. I've been really thinking about it since I saw him, about 5-6 days. And then I was at the expo. And a woman I know came up to me and she goes, you really, like, you look so good. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. And maybe it's because I'm paying attention, or I'm fixated less, or I'm looking at it differently. And I'm trying to focus on my feelings, what I'm so grateful for, and my spirit, and not just, my crow's feet or whatever. So I know it's really basic. That's a really basic idea. But I use these kinds of things to remind me, because if I make it too fancy or too complicated, I can't do it as a practice. And one thing when I was doing my homework on Karch that didn't get in the interview, like so many other things, was athletes need like an ignition, like a fire. And then they need, a coach, like someone who can help them. And then they need practice. And to me, that's what all this is. We can have all the information in the world, when to eat and supplement and rest and even around, therapy, like I'm feeling these things and I'm surrendering or whatever. Got to practice. And practice doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be consistent. So I've been practicing that. So I don't know how you're feeling or where you're at in your life, but if you need that friendly whisper about the spirit, because our world, our 3D world, man, it is really trying to keep us bound down here. It makes sense. There's no way to keep order if it gets, too ethereal and too out there. So I get it. But with the kids leaving, I'm certainly excited to do more and learn more and put myself in uncomfortable situations. And weirdly, it's that surrendering them to life, which is so hard to do. But that's where the faith in them and faith in, if you believe in everyone's so different, God, universe, that's the real faith, is when you can surrender your children to the universe. So I know it sounds very kind of like unprayer like, but I almost had to decide I was going to do that because it seems like it was just kept creeping in, like the worry, or is she gonna, or are they gonna? And it was like, no, okay, I'm going to surrender them and believe in them, and try not to worry. It's hard to do. It's impossible. But you just keep trying because the worry is just it's unproductive. It just doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. I don't know how this is going to come out, meaning this project I'm going to share with you. But I had a really incredible experience recently where I got to go to Houston with a group of women that I admire so much. A couple of them being Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and Dr. Stacy Sims, and a few other women that the idea is it's a collective, all of us together, talking about, let's use the word health, let's use the word wellness, let's just say being human. And we did 4 shows. I don't know yet what it looks like because everybody is busy. They all have children. They all work. Amber Taylor and Stacy Sims live in New Zealand, and Abby Smith Ryan lives, in the South, and it's just we're all over the place. So I'm trying to figure it out, but this is something I really wanted to do for a long time. And then Stacy Sims, I had talked to her, and she said, I want to do this thing and get people together. And I was like, oh, it must be in the air. And so I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And Laird Superfood was cool enough. They kind of took care of some of the hard costs. And you realize coming together and sharing our experiences and different expertise is the ultimate, right? That collaboration and trying to support each other, but support the message and find ways to help people make that a priority. I think for us, and I never isolate male and female because what I feel like is good information for humans is usually good. And I always say busy men have more in common with the 5 of us than like a guy who's single and can biohack and measure, like a Brian Johnson who's, measuring every little thing. Most people don't have that time or resource. So I felt like, oh, we're a good representation. Yes, for females, but certainly just for people who are trying to figure out how to get it done. So it was like a real bright spot for me to be able to do that. And quite frankly, my hope is to take that and, that it's a regular thing and that we have created this thing. And then you bring on guests, maybe who's an expert in a specific field. And then we all get to contribute to extracting information. I wish I had them on my Karch interview, but you can see I let it go. It is less than 24 hours, or it is 24 hours. So I still have probably till tonight. But anyway, I don't know. So in the state of affairs, what are some of the things, like the homework, that feels really important? And that it's the reminder that really none of us know. And what works today may not work tomorrow. And yes, of course, there's first principles on definite things in your health or your conduct. But overall, what I see more and more is a world of people knowing and then making everyone else feel worse because they don't know. And I don't think that's what it is. I think it is about always asking the questions and being humble enough to seek out new information, mentorship, new tools, whatever it is, and not be afraid of that. And it's getting sold to us that we're supposed to know. And I don't think we are. I have not seen any good movies. Let's see. I'm trying to think any specials that I watched on show. Oh, an indulgence. I watched Kate Hudson's basketball show, Turning Point. Netflix. It was like, I call that the candy, really easy. I saw a beautiful documentary, a little bit sad on Sly and the Family Stone. You realize sometimes when people are portals for this talent, like this outer world talent, not only does the world not understand, I think it's interesting that the person who usually houses the talent gets so punished. It always bums me out. Anyway, but nothing. There's a part of me that's like, I've been really quiet and still. We have a joke now. Malibu is the island of Malibu. Like, it's very hard to get here, and I'm grateful that our house was safe in the fires, and so many people have lost their home. But you really can't get here easily. So I'm sort of saying, okay, we're gonna lay low. Let's recovering. And I'm going to do what is available to me right now. So it's taking care of myself. It's maybe editing things out of my house and my life that I don't need, so that when the time is right to be busy and to be running around, that I'm ready to do that. So what am I going to work on? I've been working on my blue light impact as I sit here in front of my computer, and trying to. Laird has certainly been good at it in the morning sunlight, but that's feels like some of the largest stuff to contend with. And one show I did with Dr. Scott Shore, who is a founder of Transcriptions. He is a doctor, and a lot of times, for example, we talked all about methylene blue, and I just want to share this with you really quick, because there will be information out there, and this goes back to the overwhelming, about, how methylene blue accumulates and it actually can be toxic and it's pharmaceutical and all this stuff. So I'm not sure why some of people are, what's going on there. And funny enough, I'm sort of like, now whenever the news tells me never do that, I'm like, I'm always going to do that. And when they're like, go get that, I'm like, I'm never getting that. But so here's something that was written about methylene blue. So the fact that it accumulates in the brain and nerve tissue is what makes it so powerful. So what the message has been is like, oh, methylene blue, it accumulates, it actually becomes toxic. Okay. It accumulates, and that is what makes it so powerful to support the nervous system, as it has an affinity towards the mitochondria and nerves that have the highest population of mitochondria because it's the most metabolically sensitive. So meaning it needs a lot of energy. Another point that this doctor has wrote, I've seen people really force, is that it's a synthetic and it's pharmaceutical medicine. And he says, out of nearly 150,000 synthetic molecules that have been developed, there's never been anyone that works as powerfully within the mitochondria, as well as an antimicrobial and as well as a mood enhancer, as well as a neuroprotection. So even a lot of surgeons that will run a methylene blue IV while they're doing surgery on people to protect their brain. And so I just want to say, we talk about a lot of things on this show, things like methylene blue, and, red light therapy and hyperbaric chambers and all these things. Of course, you want to cycle this in and out. We've been doing it here. I actually do it before I either go in the sun or in the red bed. But I just want to encourage you, don't take anyone's word for it. Do your homework, try it out, see what feels good and right to you, because that's the most important thing to me. All of this is an invitation, really. It's just an invitation to go, what is going to work for you? How you eat? Do you want to eat more vegetables? Do you want to not eat animal protein? Do you want to eat animal protein and focus on that? Do you, whatever you want, but it's the constant invitation that the responsibility still and ultimately relies on us, and that we need to figure it out. How do I want to move? Who do I want to be in a relationship with? What do I want to be doing with my time and my profession and other? And so that's really, at the end of the day, my biggest hope. And it's even the hope for my children. Like, I'm not trying to force them to do it the way I think they should do it. It is their life. But what I'm hoping is that they put some real concerted effort into trying to figure it out and refigure it out. Because like what works for, your early 20s, you adjust. And, me personally, I almost had a meltdown at 30. I had to adjust and go from there. And so it's that constant discipline to be surveying yourself, your life, your thoughts, your feelings, your relationships, and saying, is this working? What do I need to do to change it? So you've maybe heard me say a lot of times, complete accountability and grace at the same time, always. And I'm trying to do that for myself. So people ask me, what supplements am I taking? Only on the regular. Right now I am cycling in and out the methylene blue. I am taking vitamin D. I've been taking every third day, actually, an oral testosterone. It makes me feel really good. I've got to deal with that though. I know you would think that I'm a person who loves to get their blood work done and know all the secrets about what's going on. I don't. I dread it, and I don't know why. I'm healthy. I have very high cholesterol, but that's about the only thing. And low iron. I think somebody said to me it could be because I was a foot striking athlete, but I don't know what it is. I'm so curious about all this stuff, but I don't really want to know for myself. So those are the only supplements I'm really taking. I've been eating pretty well, and that's about it. So I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you for listening. No matter what is going on in your life, if you're single or you have a new baby or you got kids, moving out, that it's your adventure and it is happening perfectly. But it's that faith and connecting to that spirit and putting that effort also, though, into who you really are, how you want to show up, what you want to contribute, and then investing in those real relationships. Because at the end of the day, I still don't know if it's not much more than creative expression and connection. And to house the spirit, it's easier if we feel good and we're, quote, healthy. So I just want to continue to encourage you. And if you don't, it's like, you don't have to listen to my podcast. It's like, just find the groups that speak to you and help you and keep you on the path. And if you're starting out, write it down. That seems to really show up over and over as something really helpful. And if you've been going and you're in a routine, change it up. And by the time you hear this, also, you will maybe have heard the Jeff Krasno interview. And I would encourage you to listen to that, because not only is he so incredibly intelligent, but he discusses this not only at length, but so sincerely. And you realize somebody that smart and that successful and who has a lot of information still dealing with the same things. So I'd always love to hear from you. If you have questions for me, I'm ready. I'll do an interview soon with Laird on his hip. I only do it when he feels good, right? Not when he doesn't. Got to protect, I protect him when he's in a temporary vulnerable state, because we need to do that for each other. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Any questions, send it my way. And as always, I am so grateful to spend time with you. And I send you wishes of love and health and peace. Thanks, everyone, for spending some time with me. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, feel free to share it with your friends. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, I want to hear from you. Tell me what's working, what's resonating with you, and how you're getting it done. Keep going.